I want Spider-Man!
You heard it here first, folks. Spider-Man is officially back in the MCU. After many negotiations, Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures have finally come to an agreement that will once again allow Tom Holland to reprise his role as Peter Parker in the MCU for one final movie. All the corporate fighting and drama is past, and we finally have our golden boy back in the MCU to make us proud. Just when I thought the big companies fighting over billions of dollars, Thanos snapped our boy Peter away forever, this news drops and makes 2019 good again. What could be better? I don't need another Captain Marvel movie, just give me Spider-Man. Hands down, one of the best superheroes of all time, and we almost saw him get completely wiped from the face of the big screen by some stupid corporate disagreement fighting over who gets how much money. Yeah, Disney should probably get more than 5% of the profits, but at the same time, Sony never had to let them use their character in the first place. For Disney to walk up out of the clear blue and demand 50% is absurd, and trying to manipulate the fans to pressure Sony into giving them such a huge percentage is a low blow. But we're going to be covering every detail of news from everything happening with Spider-Man that was just announced. What did it take to bring these two companies together for one final film? How much money was all this worth? As well as when the next Spider-Man movie will be coming out and who the director will be. So many teases were leaked about a Spider-Man crossover in the multiverse, so watch until the end of the video because you don't want to miss this. And real quick, if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'll be here making fun videos for you guys every single week. By subscribing, you can stay up to date on all the latest movies and theories that everyone's going to be talking about. All you have to do is go down and hit that red button that says subscribe, and you'll become part of this community that's filled with tons of people that love to talk about the same things that you love to talk about. Now that you're subscribed, because I know every single one of you just subbed, let's jump right into the video. Now, ever since I made my last video on Spider-Man being pulled from the MCU, I started following this account on Twitter that's called Is Spider-Man Back in the MCU Yet? And they literally only post yes or no once a day to keep you updated on if he's back in the MCU. And ironically enough, this is how I found out that Sony and Marvel came to an agreement. It finally paid off. I just about unfollowed them the other day because I got so tired of getting sad each time I saw them post no to my timeline. But I thought that was worth throwing in here, shoutouts to them. Now, this agreement between Sony and Marvel is giving us one more Spider-Man movie set in the MCU to bring a close to the Tom Holland trilogy. I don't think we would have ever gotten to see this movie if they didn't come to an agreement, because honestly, the MCU is what makes this Spider-Man good. His relationship with Tony Stark and Captain America and Happy and his aunt and all the other things that made him him are all big parts of the Marvel universe. As soon as you take away Iron Man from his story, it doesn't work. You can't have this Spider-Man that was made by the events and people of this universe without all these things that built him into the hero we see him as today. Now, if you remember, Sony and Marvel agreed on a contract that let Marvel use Sony's character so they could make Spider-Man movies and include him in things like Civil War and the Avengers. This contract gave Disney a mere little 5% of the revenue the movie made at box office, which may not seem like a lot, but Far From Home ended up being Sony's highest grossing movie of all time, pulling in $1 billion in revenue. 5% of that is a whopping $50 million, and that's without putting any money into it for production costs. That's pretty good, but after Far From Home made $1 billion, Disney put their foot down and demanded that they give them 50% of the next movie's revenue. And while I agree that Disney does deserve more than 5% of the profits, demanding 50% right out the gate is absolutely absurd. They leaked it, yes, in quotation marks, because there's no way this whole ordeal wasn't completely a publicity stunt. But Disney had leaked that Sony wouldn't agree to giving them half the profits and made them out to be the bad guys in this whole situation and made it seem like they were the reason the fans couldn't have their Spider-Man anymore. Going from 5% to 50% is a huge jump. Something more like 15 to 20% would have been much more reasonable. But we can't forget who we're talking about here. Why would Disney ask for only 15% when they could demand 50% and manipulate the media and the fans to pressure Sony into taking the deal? I mean, that's the only way anyone would ever agree to that, is if they were backed into a corner. And I had to search to find this, but apparently even with such a crazy demand, Sony still counter-offered them with 25%. But of course, greedy Disney refused and kept pushing for 50%. So Sony did the smart thing and just backed away from the table until everything online simmered down. Now, I said this would happen word for word in the last video and called that it would happen before the end of the year, but it only took what? A whole month? Maybe two? Now that Sony wasn't being pressured by the fans and the news outlets to agree to some rash agreement, they were able to negotiate on a level field with Disney and come to the new agreement of giving Disney 25% of the profits for the next movie, just like they countered-offered them before. Disney will in turn pay for 25% of production costs and receive the same percentage of the profits. The production cost of Far From Home was around $200 million, so 25% of that is $50 million. So Disney will pay $50 million towards production costs for Spider-Man 3. But if it nets around the same amount, $1 billion, 25% of that is $250 million. That means Disney goes from a $50 million paycheck to a $250 million paycheck. I mean, subtract the $50 million they invested in the production costs, and they still have a $200 million paycheck coming their way. That's a huge jump. That's great. I think this is much more fair / reasonable than the 50% they originally started off by demanding. And as sad as I was to hear that they only agreed to have one more movie for the time being, they also made a statement saying that this does not mean that the third Spider-Man movie will be Tom Holland's last adventure as Peter Parker. According to Sony and Marvel, Peter will have more adventures in the MCU and with Sony in their universe. Now, this means possible Venom crossovers as well as tie-ins with the animated side of the Spider-Verse. They also mentioned that he will be included in one of Marvel's future group movies like an Avengers type film, but he'll only be getting one more Spider-Man movie for himself. They announced that John Watts will be returning as director for the third movie, and after seeing how great of a job he did on the last two films, I'm really confident that he already has a great vision for the final film, and it'll be amazing. I think they're going to be exploring the Sinister Six, or maybe we'll get to see Kraven the Hunter. I mean, now that everyone knows Spider-Man's true identity, literally every villain can come after him. And Aunt May, and MJ, and Ned, and everybody close to Peter. This movie is going to be crazy. They said it's coming out on July 16th, 2021, and Kevin Feige says that he is thrilled that Spidey's journey in the MCU will continue, and all of Marvel Studios is very excited that they get to keep working on it. He says that Spider-Man is a powerful icon and hero whose story crosses all ages and audiences across the globe. He also happens to be the only hero with a superpower to cross cinematic universes. So as Sony continues to develop their own Spideyverse, you never know what surprises the future might hold. Wow. Okay, so this literally means that Spider-Man will be staying in the MCU with another Avengers film and one more Spider-Man movie for sure, but that we're also going to see him in some of Sony's future movies like Venom 2, which they're starting to work on, and possibly some animated Spider-Verse cameos. I think that'd be really cool to see, and we've got a lot of stuff to look forward to with Spidey now. Robert Lawson from Sony Pictures Entertainment said, "We've had a great collaboration over the last 4 years, and our mutual desire to continue was equal to that of many of the fans. We are delighted to be moving forward together." And I can't agree more. A lot of people are trying to say either Disney won and Sony lost, or Sony won and Disney lost. But both of them are going to make billions and billions of dollars from this agreement, and we the fans get to keep our new Spider-Man that we fell in love with. As far as I can see, this is a win-win for everybody. Or a win-win-win in this case, which is even better. I'm just happy to know that the third movie is back on, along with J.K. Simmons returning to his role as J. Jonah Jameson. I hope he plays a large part in this next film, and I really like the twist of the Daily News being a media site. Marvel actually set up the actual dailybugle.net, so you can go there and watch JJ yell about how much of a menace Spider-Man is.
Well, let me tell you something, kid. You're no hero. Mysterio. That's a hero. You are a criminal. A menace!
I thought that was really cool. But also for this third Spider-Man movie, I feel like we're gonna get that iconic upside-down Spider-Man kiss with MJ. That was so huge when it first came out, and I don't think they'd not include it in this Spider-Man. It'd be a nice little callback to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. I really like the references in the Spider-Verse to the Tobey Maguire movies. I'm glad they put those little head nods in there. But I'm just really excited for the future of Spider-Man now. We've got a new solo film in 2021. We'll probably see him in Venom 2, as well as the Avengers movies that we've got coming down the road. Kevin Feige is tackling a lot right now, and on top of all that Marvel work he's been doing, it was just recently announced that he'll be making a Star Wars movie too. Honestly, I'm so stoked about this. I'm so happy they're bringing Kevin Feige's genius creative skills into the Star Wars universe. I'm hoping he rubs off on all the other Star Wars projects and raises the bar much higher for future films. He's done such an incredible job at orchestrating the Marvel universe for the last 15 years and making everything work together. I feel like that's really something Star Wars is lacking right now, and I think he's going to bring a lot to the table there as well. But tell me your thoughts. And I want to go off topic real quick. I've been working really hard on these videos for a while now, and ever since I started making YouTube videos, I've had this one problem that's been with me since the very beginning. I used to draw and animate on a simple PC that couldn't handle the graphics programs I needed to use for my videos very well, and this became a regular thing. I would lose an hour or two of work each time it happened, and it became a regular weekly thing. I worked hard and finally saved up enough money to buy a decent custom laptop to do all the heavy graphics work I needed it to do. And now, after a full year of hard work I put into it, it died. I lost my laptop and every single file I've worked on in the last year. I need to get a MacBook or something, but in the meantime, this tablet company, GAOMON, reached out and said they wanted to send me one of their tablets to try out, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to redraw all my character assets and files I lost, so you know what, send it over. I've always wanted a tablet that had a screen display, so this is a much anticipated upgrade for me, and I'm happy I get to try it out. This is GAOMON'S PD1560 pen screen tablet. It's got a 1920 by 1080 15.6-inch display, along with 10 physical keys you can customize to make your workflow faster which I'm all about. It's got 8,192 levels of pressure sensitivity, and honestly, for how big of a jump in quality it is for me, it's much more affordable than a lot of its competitors. If you're looking for a good entry-level tablet with a screen to start drawing with, I want you to go check it out. I'm gonna leave all the links to the tablet in the description. It comes with everything you could ever need to get started, and I can't wait to start using it to redraw all my character assets. Thanks again to GAOMON for supporting the channel, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave me a comment and let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see next. I'll be reading through them all and responding to you guys as much as I can. Go check out GAOMON'S tablet, but until next time, I will see you in the comments. Peace.